There's a tab open in your browser. It's been there for 5 days. That project, that one, the big one, the one that would take, maybe 2 hours just to get moving? Every time you glance at it, you feel it, right here, that tightness in your chest. So you open another tab, and another, and another. Now you're sitting there with 47 tabs open. And that one is still there, watching you.
Let me guess what people have already told you. You just lack discipline. You need more willpower, man. Bullshit. Because if you pay close attention, you'll notice something strange. The smartest people you know, they're usually the ones who lock up the most. It's not despite them being smart, it's because of it.
Here's how it works. You have an important project. You know it matters. But there's a catch. You care too much, way too much, about how it's going to turn out. And your brain does this silent calculation. You don't even realize it's happening. If I do this, and it sucks, what does that say about me? Suddenly, organizing your sock drawer feels incredibly urgent. Clearing your browser history? Top priority. Watching a 3-hour productivity tutorial? Essential. Anything except starting. Now, listen to this sentence. If it's not perfect, I'm not starting. Now listen to this one. If I don't start, I can't fail. See that? It's the exact same sentence.
You know the feeling? It's like standing on the edge of a pool. You know the water is freezing. Every second you stand there, the anxiety just builds and builds. But jumping means feeling the shock, the cold. It means realizing you might not swim as well as you thought you could. So you stay there, frozen, thinking, planning, waiting for the right moment. Spoiler, it's not coming. Your brain actually has a name for this. Science calls it a threat response. The same part of your brain that lights up when you see a predator, it lights up when you see a blank page, when you see potential judgment headed your way. And what does the body do when it feels threatened? It runs. So you run to TikTok, to YouTube, to the kitchen to make your 4th coffee of the day.
But here's where it gets interesting. You aren't running away from the task. You're running away from being judged. Because deep down, really deep down, perfectionism was never about excellence. It was about self-preservation. If you're flawless, no one can touch you. If you never finish, you can't be measured. If you never truly give it your all, you can still believe you'd be extraordinary if you did. It's a shield, a 20-ton weight on your back that you think is protecting you. But it's the very thing keeping you pinned to the ground. I know what you're expecting me to say right now. Go to therapy, work through it, learn that your value doesn't come from your performance. And yeah, that's true. That is the answer. But if you're a perfectionist, the idea of doing therapy perfectly has probably already stressed you out, hasn't it? You're already researching which method is the best, checking how many stars the therapist has on Google. And meanwhile, nothing happens. So, I'm going to give you the dirty shortcut, the workaround, the 70% version. First, stop calling it laziness. Call it what it actually is. It's fear. Fear of being mediocre, of disappointing people, of finding out that you're just human. When you call it laziness, you're just insulting yourself. When you call it fear, you can actually work with it. Second, before you start anything, ask yourself this. What would the ugly version of this look like? Like if you had to turn this in an hour, no bells and whistles, just functional. What would you do? Now go, do that, just that. You know what happens when you see that ugly version sitting there in front of you? Your brain relaxes. Oh, is that it? I can fix that. That's easy. And then you make it better. But first, it has to exist. There's something the productivity culture doesn't tell you. Your portfolio is only as good as the things you actually finish. The perfect version living in your head, it doesn't teach you a thing. The ugly version that actually exists, that teaches you everything. The difference between the greats and the mediocre isn't talent, it's reps. And you can't get reps on things you don't finish. Third, change the question. Instead of, how do I make this perfect? Ask, how do I make this exist?
Perfectionism convinced you there's this massive canyon between good and bad. But the real canyon? It's between done and not done. On the side of not done, there's no learning, no feedback, no growth. Just a pretty idea that will never see the light of day.
I know it's scary. Letting go of the fantasy of perfection, it's a form of grief. It really is. Because as long as you don't do it, you can still believe you'd be incredible.
Doing it means accepting. Maybe I'm just okay. But you know what's on the other side of that grief? The freedom to mess up, to learn, to be imperfect and still be worthy. The freedom to create without needing every single thing to prove you deserve to be here. Now, I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I'm warning you, it's going to be imperfect. Go down to the comments and write one sentence. Just one. It doesn't have to be deep. It doesn't have to be well written. Punctuation in the wrong place? Who cares? The project I'm stuck on is... Don't explain it. Don't justify it. Just name it. You know what happens when you write down the name of the thing that's paralyzing you? It stops being an invisible monster. It just becomes a project with a name. The 70% version of beating procrastination? It starts by naming it. Right down there. Now, I read every single one, and you're not in this alone.